We have a fabulous panel of designers and architects, all women. I'm the only guy here. and let me do the introductions. Shruti Chaudhary, having grown up in a construction family with an atmosphere rich in art, Shruti, who is a strong-minded individual with an entrepreneurial bent that helps her balance multiple hats with ease. After completing her architecture degree from the University of Minnesota, she led multiple real estate projects and eventually established CDS, Chrysalis Design Studio, that specializes in homes, residential and commercial buildings in 2010. CDS is a women-led enterprise with 99% women. In 2017, Shruti received the Women in Excellence Award at the Women Economic Forum, besides many other recognized awards. Truly impressive. Welcome, Shruti.
Kashish Raheja. Kashish's passion has always been geared towards one goal: creative design. Born in New Delhi, her educational design journey began with earning an Associates of Arts degree in interior design from the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in Los Angeles. As the head of design at Anka since 2016, Kashish has pursued the creation of bespoke turnkey furniture projects, supplying complete boiserie, furniture, soft furnishings, and much more. She has developed her designs to provide products that are unique in craftsmanship and of the highest quality. Welcome, Kashish.
Leila Irfan. Leila is the founder of Arya Interior Design, born and brought up in Tehran. Leila was drawn to art since childhood. She pursued her degree at the Graphic High School, followed by a degree from the Art and Architecture University in Tehran. She developed a fondness for India, the architecture, heritage, culture, and craft, making her decide to settle in Delhi. Her studio, Arya, focuses on bespoke interior design and exclusive product design. Welcome, Leila.
Thank you. Meena Murthy Kakkar. With 15 years of design experience and as design head at Envisage, Meena paved a glorious path for the firm and embedded robust design principles and an organized curriculum. Meena pursued her Bachelor's of Architecture from SPA, Delhi, after which she started her design quest while bagging accolades in the field as a designer and teacher. She strongly believes in the glory of human creativity, which is inimitable. Being adept in residential, commercial, and retail architecture, Meena can articulate multiple solutions to every given situation. Welcome, Meena.
Thank you.
We can start with Shruti. Would you share your screen? Now, what
yes, absolutely.
The format we will follow is that you do your presentation, and then the panel will have questions, and it can be interactive. It will be interactive between the panel.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
All right. At the onset, I'd like to thank Mr. Talwar, Anika, and Nitco. It's an absolute pleasure sharing this platform with all you wonderful people. Let me rewind a bit. Architecture is recognizing a need and fulfilling it. That is the core identity of architecture. Like Norman Foster famously said, I quote, "As an architect, you design for the present with an awareness of the past for a future which is essentially unknown," I unquote. Architecture through centuries has evolved in response to the socio-economic environment and the end user. The design landscape has changed in response to calamities and lessons we designers have learned from them. For example, earthquake-proof homes, we never ever had those in the past. And because of the seismic activity, we learned from that. And today most homes in seismic zones, it's mandatory compliance to have them designed structurally and design-wise as a seismic-proof construction. Similarly, in Japan, the entire ethos of architecture has actually evolved from one, the rapidly growing industrialization of the cities, and second, natural calamities. Cities today, thus, are so different from cities of the decades past. The biggest change, other than the density, increase in density of population, there has been a very in-depth penetration of the Internet of Things and automation today, and people's awareness about sustainability. The response to design to this current world, which I would say is post-pandemic, is a world we never actually imagined living in. And the response has been on 3 levels. The first level is at the city level. The next has been the community level, where there is social interaction. And the third is the individual or the dwelling level. So actually now we urban planners and city planners have to start rethinking what the definition of a city means. What we need to relook at is decentralizing the congested CBD areas and creating satellite cities for better efficiency and decongestion of city clusters. An example of this has been done with the Delhi NCR region, but that kind of model has really not been followed anywhere else. So it's something that one needs to relook at as a response to the ever-changing world today. The other aspect is that the response of city infrastructure to this pandemic in a lot of ways was dismal. In fact, the lockdown was instated because the government needed to be prepared with common spaces, community spaces that had to be reinvented into spaces that could handle the pandemic casualties, etc. And we need multifunctional spaces at the city level, which are agile community spaces, and that can adapt to the various requirements like chameleons. Coming back to the core, which is sustainability, which is what today's design is all about. We would see that in commercial buildings where, there would be green water, there would be building management systems, there would be reuse, electrical controls, and a lot of stuff that was put into the building to make it more efficient. However, today we see that happening in individual homes too, which was not there previously. And a big factor was that the price was a huge threshold as a barrier. And today it is much more affordable. And also urban dwellers have understood the need for these kind of sustainable practices that need to be adopted today. So there's a complete shift in home design strategy. And that came from us going into lockdown and realizing that home is the new workplace. And we had children doing online school, we had virtual meetings, and there was really no space for us to do so. So this came up, a lot of design that is happening today involves flexi workspaces, and the definition of a home has changed. Homes are much more agile. There is also a need for, in planning, a lot of residential units are double loaded on a corridor. So that did not allow any light or any ventilation to permeate into the spaces within. However, now design that we're seeing today, when we do large residential units, there's a paradigm shift where there is now linear stacking, which enables proper air quality, ventilation, light, etc., which has now become a necessity. Also, every corner of the house today, we need Wi-Fi. So the thickness of the walls, the redesigning of the spaces, because there's only a certain bandwidth the Wi-Fi can penetrate. So there's a lot of rethinking about even the structural elements that go into a residential space. It's no more home sweet home. I call it home smart home now, because it is all about how smart it is. And I'll give you an example. So there is Alexa available on Amazon, and Alexa comes with these Solimo locally made. This is not an Amazon pitch, but they have these local Solimo bulbs, which you can integrate. It comes at like less than 750 rupees. And what has happened is it's made things much more affordable, where you can now integrate your Alexa to all the lights into your home. This is like a basic form of automation. Other than that, you have these great technologies coming in from Singapore. Like I'm working with one of them. They're called Yoo-Hoo. They do pathogen detection in homes. So and they're very affordable. So there's a lot of stuff coming into the market, which design is also responding to, and it's coming in response to design. So it's a forward integration and a backward integration. And that's what we're seeing now, that the home is essentially now a smart home. The other aspect that, it's one way we have tech integration, the other way we're going back to the grassroots. We are now seeing making homes the new farmland. We've all heard of farm to table concepts, and much more today it is relevant. We are seeing vertical integration of landscape and horizontal integration. In a place like Bangalore, I think everyone I know is growing what they eat, including us. I mean, it's in our balconies or gardens, or people have moved out of the congested city centers into their weekend homes where they're growing produce. So there's a huge shift of what landscape means in design today. The urban dwellers are more, they're more aware about the environmental impacts and sustainability. And finally, the global movement of urban farming has come to India. The constant thought today, like, they say, you save the planet, you save ourselves. So that is the basic ethos today of survival, of design also. Coming to the community and workspace response to the pandemic, this is more for, office spaces, interactive spaces, because we started with the city level, then we went to the home level, and this is now the community level. So firstly and foremostly, we've seen a reduction in people interacting in these spaces. If there was 100%, it's now down to 50%, even 30%. So again, design has to respond to this change. Even your building management system controls need to respond to this change, where there are much less number of people inhabiting a building. So it's really funny because last year was all about agile workspaces and barrier-free, office spaces. And today the barriers are back in. It's become a necessity. And along with the barrier, another thing that we are noticing is the integration of green landscape spaces in the common areas. So they say the air that we breathe increases our efficiency. And that holds true today than never before. And we've seen that integration coming in. Look at WeWorks, look at CoWorks. I mean, any co-working spaces, look at the Dells, Hewlett Packards of the world. They're moving into this mode. Also, everything now is sensor enabled. There's a lot of requirement coming into the market where everything is door-free navigation, hands-free doors. Basically, you touch nothing. There are no touch points. There are also apps that have been developed that integrate with the building management systems, where you click on your phone and you get access and the door opens. So there's a lot of tech penetration into the market. And, but of course, there is, empty desks being left in layouts earlier. Meena would probably know, she's done commercial architecture. It was 150, or it went down to 55 square feet per person, I think. And today we are back to 150 to 100 square feet per person. So in a way, the pandemic is a blessing too. It's how you look at it. So also there are, again, in the office, smart offices were always there, but now we see an integration of intelligent control systems, which control everything from the lighting to the water flow. You have these faucets now, which, when you put the motion of your hands, actually recharges the battery in the faucet, which then pushes the water out. I think it's by Toto, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot of stuff in the market today that is in response to the need of intelligent design and systems and controls that control also the efficiency and your costs, and of course the environment. Another thing that we are seeing now in commercial spaces is pathogen detection and viral detectors, but that I don't know how, that we will have to see what the feedback is. So just touching base, the pandemic has made us reassess design at so many levels. This is one of our latest projects. It's a mountain home, Mr. Talwar, this is Mr. Kashyap's home, in which you're going to visit soon, in Shimla. And it has been a blessing in disguise. So this is a whole mountain. And then we started doing this house design in March, post-lockdown. And it made us go local. It made us think vernacular. Because that's something that we've lost as architects and designers. We forgot that India as a country has so much culture in every region. And one never thought of local materials. One never thought of sustainable materials in the long term. And this pandemic has made us think of them. And it's so important to go back to your grassroots and learn from the culture and the regions, the architecture, because it was always deep rooted in sustainability, be it the courtyard homes or be it the pitch roof and local materials in the north. So we definitely need to make life simpler. So go local, I feel, is the way to go. Our present day situation marks a moment that has forever changed the way we reconsider designing and building the spaces we need in the future. Architecture can no more be relegated to a passive backdrop. It has to be deployed as an active agent in the fight against the pandemic. We can recapture trust over our public spaces and solve problems. The spatial choices we make today during this emergency may make or break our ability to survive both this crisis and the next one. I would end with, good design is sustainable, but great design is responsible. Thank you.
That was very interesting, Shruti. Thank you for a fabulous presentation.
Thank you.
And I look forward to visiting
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That was very nice.
That was really, really good. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So what we would do is we would interact on Shruti's presentation. If you have any questions, anything you would like to discuss, anything you'd like to comment on, we will go there before we move to the next presentation. When you say local, I hope you don't stop wanting to use Italian marble.
I think you have to do a mix today, where one would use complete Italian. I would today look at a Kota, look at granite, Sadar Ali also as options.
You're absolutely right. This is something that we've been doing as well. And we've been literally harping upon it with all our clients that go look at your traditional architecture and there's just so much to pick up from
Absolutely.
it. And that's a very well made point. Yes, of course.
And also I feel that, since I run a manufacturing plant in India, and us Indians, we have always looked at Europeans as the market. The European market is our standard of luxury.
Absolutely.
So we also always feel that now designers should also, and clients should also look at India for sourcing locally, not just materials, but also furniture. For their homes, and India is doing great quality work, which if the people look at with those eyes would really appreciate and can get value in the same amount of, in maybe a much less amount of money.
We have craft as something that, we need to harp upon as well, because craft has been an essential
Absolutely.
part
I was just going to say this.
of our, say structural systems, of our furniture. It was there everywhere. It wasn't something that was an add-on or as, something that was done later on. So that these are things we need to pick up, and value what we already have, instead of just blindly looking westwards for trends.
I think that we can build on that with the technologies that have come in from the West. I think it's the thing of marrying it together on an equal platform, maybe.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that will help everyone.
Did you see Vineet's comment?
Oh, I didn't.
He said, please stop them. Have you seen that? Otherwise, they're going to close my business.
Vote for local is a new slogan, right?
Sorry?
After the pandemic, the vote for local is a new slogan.
Absolutely. And along with Make in India, no?
And Make in India. So I think Vivek, you and us, we're very safe. Yeah.
I'm only worried about my marble with which comes from many places, including Iran.
That too. Right, right.
We are trying to give a service of cut to size, ready to use, a product that you don't need to work on, because as it is, there is shortage of labor. So we're bringing in an imported raw material, but localizing the end product so that you can buy something. We can give you every piece numbered, so that you don't need, so you can lay marble like a tile. You don't need to worry about having to do the kind of work that we have been doing up till now.
You know, we have to really heavily depend on marble layers.
Yeah.
And if it's not a good layer, the marble flooring is gone. So this would really be something that adds value.
We could also, as Shruti said, marrying two things. For instance, you take Italian marble, you take something as basic and simple as botticino, and you can actually etch on it, get the local people to do an etching pattern on it. When you etch on botticino, we've done that in some of our projects, it looks beautiful. So it's a combination of the rough finish and the polished finish, and it looks absolutely, and the rough gets darker by the day. Okay, and the polished surface stays polished. So it looks absolutely beautiful as it ages as well. So these are the things you could actually get in local craftsmen, but say international material. So
yeah,
But
absolutely.
there's only one issue, that we now have phenomenal machines that are doing what a craftsman was doing till now. So you want to make it rough, you want to do edging, you want to do leather finish, you want to give any finish to stone, we have it automated. So you have uniformity in what you want to do. Of course, you want, and if you want to make it look non-uniform, the machine will make it look non-uniform. So we completely replace it. It's an inlay work, it's anything, it's all automated.
And also, I think time, right? Like anything you do on machines is also gets you the productivity faster. And with the pandemic going on, and I feel that as designers, we also need to take responsibility of delivering our projects.
Very well said.
You
Very
know,
well.
not and what would take like years. We should have a responsibility of meeting our deadlines. What we commit, we deliver, and introduce our clients to the right vendors. Like how Vivek is saying, he's got the right machinery, educating our clients about what machines are available in India and what can be done probably at a better cost and a better finishing than by other means. So it's great that Vivek, that you have, you're making it local, but you have all the USPs and the best machinery of the world to create and give Indian consumers a great product.
And you're also making it virtual.
And
So
you're
I
doing it
think
virtual, which is the call of today.
Covered, ticked all the boxes, so fantastic.
Yeah.
In any case, you're all invited to visit a plant in Silvassa whenever you come. It's not very far. So you can see exactly what we do. Okay, we'll move on. Kashish, would you
Yes,
share your screen?
So, hi everybody. I would love, Shruti, I'm coming after you. You were so good. I'm a little nervous now. But anyways, I'm going to just roll. We're going to start with showing you what we do by showing you a video of one of our completed projects. So it would just take you through our design sensibility. And then I would go into showing you something that we're currently doing. Right. So Mahima, can you please play the video?
Mahima, you'll have to unmute for us to hear the video.
Yeah. There's no volume. Mahima.
Unmute yourself, Mahima.
Right.
Kashish, one question. Do you take rupees or only dollars?
Dollars would be nice. So
That looks amazing. Absolutely amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing work.
yeah, thank you so much. So that's just to tell you that, you know, Anka is a company that does design and build solutions as well as its own manufacturing, which it has in Noida, in NCR. Is a project designed by us. All the furniture that you saw is manufactured by us. So are the chandeliers, the soft furnishings, basically anything and everything that goes into a home is what we manufacture and also simultaneously execute. So it's a beautiful way of giving one solution to the client. Now, I would also want to show you what the project that we are doing and how in the pandemic times, the consumer's needs are evolving. So Mahima, could you please start the presentation? So let's discuss the layout first. So you see now, homes have become the epicenter of everyone's world. Home is not a home anymore. It's their holiday destination. It's their lounge. It's their outdoor, it's a Cirrus. They're looking for a Oberoi's rooftop to be a part of their home. They need a home theater. They need a spa, a salon, a gymnasium, everything the consumer, since with the pandemic, he's not able to take all these services outside. He wishes them to be a part of his own home. So in terms of planning as designers, with the same amount of space, we would be using them for maybe other areas. These are the kind of elements that we now need to incorporate into our plans. This is a project that we're doing in Delhi for somebody. If you look at the layouts, it's showing you the ground and the first floor. Yes, these are more the private floors. But if we move to the next slide, which is showcasing the basement and the second floor, you would notice that our clients, we're giving them a banquet space to host larger parties, which would normally was not something which came as a requirement. But we're seeing this coming up largely now. Of course, a very lavish bar area and a very, very lavish entertainment space with a large dining. This is the basement layout. Even the banquet space opens up to a terrace outdoor. Indoor outdoor experience. And when we go to the second floor plan, there is a salon which is planned separately, a home theater and a gymnasium, along with a landscape, a terrace, a rooftop terrace for open air events. So this is how the planning is kind of getting affected with the new situation in our world. Moving forward to design, how do we as designers? So about Anka, we normally cater to the luxury segment. Our clients are the ones who come to us when they want something which is beyond the ordinary. So that is always our goal. So primary goal is to understand the client. So this particular client, they just wanted something which was a little bit more oomphy. So if you'll notice, there's a lot of elements in design. Here, we wanted to go away from the natural wood color, which is walnut, to a more stained wood color. So if you notice, our doors are this lighter veneer. This is the entrance lobby that's designed. Okay. Staircases. Just the design of the staircases with indirect lighting. So, which adds to the mood of the elevation. This is their formal living and dining. I'm just taking you through the project, how every areas are looking. So what we showed you before was a real life project, and these are our renders that we are giving our clients. So I really feel that in today's times, where every client has a timeline and they also have budgets to their projects, it's our great responsibility as a designer to give them what we call technology. We need to get smarter. Our own institution need to get smarter, where whatever we are going to be delivering them, we must represent them in our 3D renders. So as a company, we really believe that we must show the client what we will give. It's not just so we always like to detail the project and spend a lot of time in understanding the client, designing each corner of the house, each furniture piece, each ceiling, each chandelier. And that's when we come to a rendering stage. So when the renders are done, our renders are done before the engineering drawings start. So which makes our delivery and the client expectation reach a common point. So in this pandemic, everybody is short of time. So I greatly feel that bridging that gap where deliverables are met, renders are the way to go. These are just some shots of the same project, how it's been designed. This is for the kids' room. Also, I think Shruti covered most of the things which came about, touch panels, those automated door systems, even in terms of sanitary, there are ways that people are going for the, the no-touch sanitary ware. Automated WCs is something that is going to become a new thing with this pandemic, where you don't have to open, so less touch points basically in the house, in the bathrooms. Also biometrics, Mahima, just hang on. Biometrics is also something that we are seeing a great shift to, from the regular lock and key when it comes to door systems and the door hardware. Otherwise, right, so basically these are the things that I feel that are moving forward. So as a company, besides the interior design division, which we also have our own manufacturing, which I told you. So this is one of our collections. We design our own furniture, and this is how one of our collections looks like in our showrooms. So we are also incorporating Indian Western technology with Indian craft. So if you notice, a lot of quilting detail is there in our furniture. We import the best machinery from the West, but it's the local craftsmen that, of course, make everything locally. Also, when it comes to sustainability, we feel that as a manufacturer, we have a great responsibility towards our workers and the paint finishes, the processes, the environment in which we make our furniture. So we are spending a lot of time in, improving our factories, giving them environment and spray system, painting booths where our workers are also benefited from. In terms of healthcare, there's also equal benefit to the people making it besides the people using our products that are being made here. Luxury and sustainability will always be like two things. It's definitely something that we need to look at how we can bridge the two, because sustainable furniture and luxury furniture, you see, we're still trying to get that gap closer and closer. So that effort will always be on. Our commitment is to our our clients and providing them safe environments to get their projects through. So I think I will close with this. This is what we are. This is what Anka does. And in the pandemic world, we will continue to move forward by supporting our clients.
I mean, I have to say that stuff is amazing. I have actually been to the showroom a couple of times and seen in Noida. you people are all in the NCR. You have to visit their showroom to see what they're doing. Absolutely amazing stuff. Absolutely amazing stuff.
Thank you. Thanks.
But you have to only pay in dollars. You can't pay in rupees.
No, anybody with any amount, any currency is welcome.
I'm like a true businesswoman.
Currency is okay. Yeah. So that was me, and thank you. So now whoever's next can take over.
So if there are questions on that, if there's anything that
Sure.
you want to discuss on this, it would be great. If there isn't, then we'll move on to Leila.
Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, I should say kind of this pandemic made my life very comfortable to explain myself, because when I came to India around 13 years ago, everybody was asking me, why India? And then I was trying to explain to people, I am in love with what you have as a craft, as material sources, as a design. Very frankly, in the beginning, people, they was look at me, okay. And when I was going, sourcing, finding the craftsmen, corner of this village, that village, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, all these people, they was thinking, okay, she's a lost soul in India. But now it's beautiful. I'm not saying only pandemic, at least in last few years, I'm seeing new generation, they all value what India has. When I came just for a little bit research, when I saw what a gorgeous material this country has, what a craft they have, and unfortunately, it was a very sad time. Number of the craftsmen, they was dying. It was everybody wanted from Europe, everybody wanted what is in Salona happening, what is in the Meza happening. But it's beautiful. Number of the good brand, number of the good firm, Stadio is coming up. And they are value what this country gifted to us. And for me, before pandemic or after pandemic, it did not so much change the way I was looking for a design or creative my product with my team, because from the day one, I came to this country because I want craft, I want source and find all of my material from here. Or different. And I'm very happy, at least in last few years, we are going back, we are looking at all around, people that are appreciating what we have in it. Yes, of course, pandemic connected people much more deeply to the houses. It's not the matter of the only be a showcases. It's not the matter of only showcase your formal area, your living spaces. People, they're getting much deeper, going deep and deep to the living spaces, personalizing, like offices, like bedrooms. It's not the matter of only your building on the facade or living room. It should be a wall cases. And I would like to show you very short movie of a couple of the projects, if you allow me.
It was fantastic, Leila. Really, really nice.
Thank you so much. I just would like to add whatever you saw in this movie was a mix of the two recent projects and all the furniture, each and everything from the architecture to the interior to the furnishing to the soft furnishing, collecting the art for lighting, everything is done by in-house team. We are manufacturing our own furniture. At the same time, we would like always adding the more craftsmen and artists to our team to bring a different level and style to the furniture and appreciate whatever sources we are getting in the local market in Delhi or India or wherever.
Should we move on to Meena?
So I haven't gotten my project pictures here. And if any one of you wants to see what kind of work we do, please visit our website, www.envisagedprojects.in, or our Insta handle, and you will get to see the varied kind of work that we do. Actually, I'll tell you something. See, when I was told that, we are going to be meeting here for a discussion on, and the topic was design and its response to a changing world. So the first thing that immediately came to my mind when we hear of this topic is, what is exactly the relationship between design and change? Okay. So the word unpredictable probably defines the time we live in the best. And this is the first time that the world has been collectively speculating together for so long. And if I could say, change has been the only constant in the last few months. So the common thread between the pandemic and designing would be us trying to find a solution for an ill-defined or an unknown problem. I mean, this is something that we do all the time, and that is what the world is also looking at right now. So instead of coming down to say one particular solution, I would say we need to adapt a methodology which helps us deal with the situation, and that is design thinking. So design thinking is a process, it's not just about design, it's the process of designing, it's design thinking. It's a wonderful, adaptable problem solving methodology. That's actually the need of the hour. So design thinking actually works really well in situations like these because it's a non-linear method of problem solving. It helps us arrive at solutions which I would say are at the junction of human desirability, part number one, tech feasibility, and the third is cost viability. I mean, we are living in a condition right now where all these three things are so important. We have to really look at people and their problems. Number one, tech feasibility. I think the tech jump that we've taken in the past few months is like that of years. Okay, and of course cost, because we live in times where economically we are all still trying to find our feet. The country is trying to find its feet again. So we need to be very cost effective as well. So our solutions have to be packaged in this format. But see, try however we might, it is literally next to impossible to list or tabulate all the problems that this pandemic has created. Okay, so we are on you could say, constant solution finding path nowadays. So let's look at the process instead of concentrating on say, okay, this is one thing that we do. We can't just go on listing the solutions. It's very tough. So I would like to talk about some of the immediate things that we've been working on these days. So the first would be, as Shruti said, redefining the cities on a macro level. See, the need for social distancing has also brought outdoor activities to the fore. If you look at it carefully, we all moved outside, okay? And we prefer meeting people or shopping in open streets as compared to enclosed ones. So there's a basic shift. I mean, it's fresh air over artificially circulated one anytime. I could also talk about, see, cycling, for instance. Okay, let me give you an example of cycling. Cycling has been literally adopted by so many people as a means of achieving fitness and also as a means of commuting. There are lots of people in Gurgaon who now, you know, they take their cycle to work. Their office might be 40 kilometers away. They cycle to work twice or thrice a week. Now, this trend has actually prompted the government authorities to dedicate certain zones in the city which help these cyclists. So there are cyclist zones in the city. Gurgaon has sector 30, which has recently been inaugurated. Then Delhi has your Lodi Art District, which again it's got those beautiful painted streets, you know, where people take their cycles out. So I think it's time we let go of boundaries and we make our solutions quite inclusive, and we look at situations from a very, you know, holistic perspective. So that's one thing. The second issue, again, I think Shruti, your PPT also took the same course, which is workplace design. You know, so this is something that we get. I mean, we speak a lot about, and our clients do come to us with these requirements of workplace redesign. Now, one of the biggest challenges we've encountered here is the adoption changes is the adoption of work from home profiles for a huge number of employees. Though this might not work well in the collaborative sector, but for IT, it's done wonders. Okay, it's completely done wonders. So what it has essentially done to the field of real estate is that floor plates have been recalibrated, and people have, you know, reduced the leased footprint to bring the cost down. Now there's another thing. See, we have all discussed the 6 feet model of doing offices, okay, where everyone needs to maintain at least a 6 feet gap between the employees. That works really well for the newer offices, also for the larger offices. But a majority of our cities have the average of, say, 1,000 square feet office and under. Now for these people, this is not viable at all. You cannot think of maintaining 6 feet distance in a 1,000 square foot office. So yes, your say desk dividers or partitions, say a combination of office and work from home profile, all these things work. There is no way that people are willing to take this as a new normal that's going to stay with them for a very long period. Now, most offices come with a lease period of, say, 5 years or 5+3 model. Now, the offices are going to last you that long, but the pandemic, everyone believes, is not going to last that long. It might be here for a year more or whatever, but definitely not for 5 more years. So people don't want to spend doing up their offices in a way that will be unsustainable for them in the future. So definitely, I mean, the 6 feet model we realize is good for the larger offices, not for the smaller ones. So we need to, again, it's one solution never fits all. That's something as designers we need to understand, and we need to be very flexible with it. The third, of course, is our homes. Now, our relationship with our homes have acquired a whole new dimension in the last few months. I mean, they've modified from being a space to relax, a space to exercise, to work, to learn, to entertain, all in a span of a single day. So it's one day and your house completely modifies. So flexibility is again the key word here. I would say the profession and routines of the members actually define the new need, which has to be considered for sure. But it is also necessary to ensure that our solutions are scaled down, okay, and turned modular for ease of implementation, as most people are now staying at their home and getting it renovated. Because this is a new need. There is a segment that has already been there of creating new homes, but there is a huge new market for upgrading homes which has come up recently, okay, because people are staying at home and they want to upgrade their homes. So earlier people, when they want to upgrade their homes, they would shift out and they would get their place done, but that's not the thing. So now this new typology has literally stepped in, and which is actually very large in numbers. Then of course you have another typology that we deal with personally is our schools. Now the fear factor is the highest here. I mean, there is the physical aspect which I've spoken about in my blog and other social platforms. I mean, there are solutions that, you know, they need us to take a relook at what we already have, analyze and reconfigure its usage, as opposed to create something new, okay, altogether. But of course, the psychological factor is something that needs to be addressed here for a successful return to schools as opposed to physical factors. Now, learning has also merged with technology, and that is going to be here. It's going to stay for a long time, especially in higher education. So future classrooms we envisage would be a combination of real and virtual learning. And when we design learning spaces, we need to ensure that we address that as well. Now, as a society, see, we need to remember that architectural design or redesign can solve issues related to the physical spaces we occupy for sure. But the question that we face in every field in our daily lives, we need solutions there as well. And, these solutions should be flexible solution for a flexible problem. So I think design thinking with its process of empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test, they are going to be the way ahead. If we want better design, say better solutions, and for a better world in general, we need to start with that first important step, which is empathize. Empathize with people, with their problems at all levels. Everyone comes with their own issue. It's not that there's only one strata that we have to empathize with. We have to empathize with anyone who comes to us. And I think design thinking can really be the way out of this unprecedented situation that we've all been caught up with. So I think that just sums up what I have to say. Thanks.
So true, Meena. You were bang on. And would others like to discuss anything?
Yeah. Yes, please. So I've just finished my master's in design thinking from MIT. And I think what you've said is so relevant because it's all about architectures and emotion. So empathy is very important. And design thinking is not out of the box. You have to think within the box and the constraint. Yeah. So I think that was a very beautiful point, and this pandemic has caused us to be within constraints. And the other thing I think that you touched on, the fact that there are no solutions, it's evolution, work in progress. I thought that was also very interesting. Very, very relevant. Thanks, Meena.
Thank you.
But what happens? I mean, one is designing offices, and we're now talking of going to 150 square feet from 50 square feet. But 1 year down the line, 6 months down the line, 1.5 years down the line, this pandemic is not going to be there, and we'll all forget about it. What happens then?
So what we are doing with our larger offices is that we've created modular workstations. So the layout is kind of flexible in nature. So the wiring, everything goes from the floor, of course. So you have these points, and the workstations are modular. So right now you might kind of spread them out, but we also create a parallel layout for them, which is like a post-pandemic under the olden normal situation, what it would like. So people do realize, okay, they're not wasting money on infrastructure, because I mean, imagine paying so much more on your per desk cost. It's actually very crazy. Yeah. So we need to give them, that is where we need to empathize with them and not say, oh, no, you have to be 6 feet away. Fine enough, you are going to be 6 feet away right now, but in the future, we are giving you an option of getting them back together and calling all the other people back to your office as well. So flexibility, be it home residence design, be it office design, that's the key that we have to keep in mind.
Meena, I have one point, because actually I really agree with you about this kind of designs should be flexible, but I little bit disagree. We have to go back to normal. This is actually one of the discussion I had with my client, because whenever I only talk about the home and residential, because I'm only doing the residential. In the beginning, always clients say, oh, is there less furniture around? Because I'm a person, I like to keep 35 to 45% of the space open. But what is happening, if we want to go back to what we had, for example, when I used to go to corporate offices, or when I used to go to the joint family houses, it was so much happening. It was so much want to be a furniture, more space for a furniture than the human. I'm thinking we should little bit learned about this pandemic told to us, or it was a kind of the pause on the time we found ourselves in our surrounding and find our own space. What we had and what we creating now, if you want to say, okay, now tomorrow this COVID will get over, they find something, vaccine or something, let's go back to that. That is also is not right, because in many of the projects, client was never give the attention to the back garden. Client, they never give the attention to so much of the space, because he was thinking, oh, I'm coming home only for this or that, give me the lounge, I'm not care about the rooftop garden. You know, we should really change the design post-COVID or post-pandemic. As a, you know, we have to give the respect to the living spaces.
Yeah.
Much way what we are having at the pandemic time or in the lockdown time is not the matter of just, okay, let's change it because it's a COVID time. We should come with a better design.
See, you are absolutely right here. And as I, you know, there's something that I really maintain, that sustainable design is actually just good design. Okay. So maybe pandemic, you know, it's kind of made people get up and take notice of what's good design, what's good for them and what works for them, be it at home, be it in the office. So people have just become a little more sensitive towards things. You know, earlier we used to be like, oh, no, this is fine. It was only finance that mattered.
So
now it's
I think, Nina, awareness also.
Yes, absolutely. Now, in the office and residential sector, I mean, they're completely, you know, co-joined. I mean, they joined at the hip. So this work from home has also created this opportunity of people moving out of cities. And there are people I know, people who are literally like, they've become digital nomads. Okay, so they have gone to Goa, okay, and they're working from there. The kids are attending school in Delhi, sitting in Goa. Okay, so people have literally gotten their lives back in some of the cases. See, again, we can't generalize. There are segments who've literally, I mean, they've endured a lot, but there are people who've gotten their lives back as well. So when we move ahead from there, it's not that we will go back to the old normal unaffected. We would be carrying a lot of our learnings from the present time when we say make our modifications in the future. So I think that's what it would be.
I mean, I for one find it very difficult to work from home. I did that for 2-3 months. After that, I just got to office and I'm in office. I like getting to office. You know, my thinking only doesn't start till I don't reach office. But having said that, a lot of the builders who we talk to are designing homes with offices, with an office space. Because currently, we're on Zoom calls all the time with our own staff, with our own people, and nobody has the privacy. There is noise, there is pressure cooker sounds, kids sounds, there's all kinds of...
is like I think one new standard requirement which is coming up in where square foots can take an additional area, right? If the largest space, it's kind of mandatory to have an office now with this new life happening to us. And like you rightly said, I think the vertical gardens and those the home gardening. I think every Indian is or everybody in the world is becoming a gardener. They're discovering a gardener within themselves, right? And the joy of having your homegrown vegetables and all those things. It's becoming very common, which wasn't before. And it's lovely. I think the pandemic has so many great things.
Hydroponics is the new thing.
We stopped enjoying our homes, I feel. You see, I feel everybody was only looking at home from an angle to sleep. And, you know, there was a summer holiday planned, and there was a spring vacation planned, and then after 2 weeks, a birthday in London, you know, so home was just where you go to sleep. But now home is not just that. Home is everything. So all the necessities, and you're looking for entertainment of experiences of all sorts within your home, right? And that's what we designers need to create, those different experiences within the same.
And at homes, what we've also now the shift that we are seeing, you know, when we are doing apartments or residences or villas, is that the public areas have become smaller. because now people are no longer interested in filling their home up with people. Okay, so they say, okay, let's have spaces which we can club together to form a larger space. So instead of having a separate huge drawing room, which was the focus of the house, now the kitchen, I mean, lots of people have taken to cooking during the lockdown. I mean, they found their own inner chefs in the lockdown. So kitchen combined with the family room and the dining, that becomes like an area to bond with the family. And the other areas, you kind of, we cordon them off, give them sliding folding partitions, so that, you know, you can add them also, you know, segregate them as per your wishes, and make home offices there. And earlier, when we used to design desks, we used to place them in a way that there is light on your table. Now the light has to fall on your face. The background has to be solid. People shouldn't be walking behind you. Okay, so, you know, there are these changes which, of course, you know, they keep on adding, and we have to be sensitive. As I said, you know, it's very difficult to list the entire thing, but it's a fun process. I think we are all in it. And
Actually,
it's a better idea. You know, because it's not just a matter of the home. And another thing, I think most of us, we just talking about the North India, very frankly, because I've been in touch with some certain of my clients that are based in the Bangalore or Pune. They have lots of space, they have lots of greenery. They never felt what we felt in the, you know, crowded city. Want to be like a Bombay or Delhi, be stuck in the flats or maximum independent houses. And it's not just a matter of the home or offices. I'm thinking after this pandemic, we really have to look at many things. Even the beautiful idea which she was talking about, the market or about the cycling, you know, it's a matter of the idea and platform about the designing the city in India. I think it has to improve. You know, I never ever seen in my own neighborhood this much of the bicycle, this much of the runner. Now everybody is running and cycling. Then this is not just the improvement of the home. Maybe it's a kind of the baby step, but we have to move forward and forward from the home going to the offices, from offices go to the public places. Because honestly, India is a country, without the car, you cannot survive, very frankly. Nowadays, people, they bring in those kind of the European or modern style. Okay, I can go with my bicycle. For example, I remember first time I liked riding the bike. First time when I went with my bike to my own studio, everybody was just look at it. You know, now is a good time. We had a kind of the pause moment. Now we can relook at each and everything and make our own needs. Want to be at the home spaces or office spaces. If people they found the peace, they want to work from more home and are much more active.
The reason is that the pandemic has given us time to think for ourselves. Okay,
exactly.
It's given us the time to think what we really want, what is it that we identify with. You would all be surprised that suddenly post-pandemic we see a rise in the number of traditional homes that people are demanding. Okay, things which have traditional elements that they've either seen in their grandparents' house or, you know, as children. Suddenly this thing of discovering one's own self and roots is also making a comeback, which is
lifestyle change, you know, and a mindset shift because of that lifestyle change.
Yes, totally.
Leila is also saying it's the fact that we will never go back to normal now, and we shouldn't.
I agree. Totally agree.
Why we should go back? 3 years ago, all the people, they were said, no, don't worry, cover the balcony. I don't need the balcony. Bring it to the carpet area. And now everybody begging for a balcony.
Absolutely. It's a good change. They say in difficulty lies opportunity, right? So.
Shruti, you have really nice quotes. Always. Okay.
Have all the workers come back completely, or we are still struggling to find workers? Labor and the costs.
Bangalore is fine. Bangalore is asked for.
Delhi. I would say the skilled workers stayed back, and they are now, there is a, you don't want to crowd your sites as well. So people are investing more in skilled laborers as opposed to unskilled ones. Earlier it was like you would never even think of using tech for anything. I mean, you had 5 people or 10 people, that's always cheaper than hiring, say, putting up a surveillance camera. So now that thing is definitely is going down, and that's going to be a shift. I really hope that's a permanent one, where we start valuing the skill of people in the industry, and also look at the people who went back. I mean, this is something that's a subject that's close to my heart. If you look at all the thing that happened, that pitiful sight that we saw of people walking back to their villages, who are these people? They were all construction workers, most of them. Now, why did they have to go back? Because this was a chunk which was living with 1 foot in the village and 1 foot in the city, and working as stopgap construction workers in the industry. Now, who are these people actually?
I would like to add, because my major work is construction. We did not have any exodus of our labor. We are all in NCR and in up north and south. We do 50 million square feet a year delivery. But we did not see an exodus. It also depends, Meena, on how you handled your workers and took care of them.
Of course. No, I'm definitely not talking about any one particular say project, but it totally depends on the person executing the project as to whom they hire. But in general, we did see a lot of this happening, and when you go and talk, where did they come from, what were they doing here, you realize most of them are either farmers or craftsmen. They are actually skilled workers, but they are skilled at something else. Okay, and what were they doing here? They were acting as unskilled laborers for some other department. Now, these are the things that we need to make a shift in post-pandemic. We need to value skill a little more, try to skill these people, get them some sort of a recognition. And that is something that's not been touched upon at all in this industry. So maybe, as Leila also said, there are things we need to learn and move forward, take them with us. I think that learning has to be very important.
But as designers, what changes would you make in your design so that you can buy more ready stuff, buy more stuff?
I would like to add to that. You see, the culture with a lot of architects, and designers, to do a lot of work on site. But when you do a lot of work on site in the pandemic times, you're also risking site than other workers. So I always advise my clients and the designers that I work with is that, you see, now with the pandemic, use factory-made goods. Anything that can be made in a factory, order at a factory, have less people on a site, get your sites ready with what you cannot do off-site.
We are doing that. We are
jobs off-site. So that everyone is doing that. On a site also have more security in terms of less people. You see, and So
prefab is going to be the way ahead. Okay, so you take it into smaller parts and you get it manufactured off-site, and then on the site you just do your assembly work. That is something that's, anyways, it's very desirable to keep the quality of work high as well. That is a done thing.
See, mostly I've seen sites getting delayed because there are multiple teams working. The stone wala is working, the door guy is working together. Wahin pe sab kuch woodwork ho raha hai. So why? Like, I always feel like I have a company that does millwork, the boiserie, doors, wardrobes. So we always say, get people like us to do all the woodwork for you. Do your stone, your POP, do all those things on site, which you can't do off site.
I'll tell you the problem that has been there, and it's again that skilled and unskilled labor. So most of the off-site work is done by skilled laborers, right? So you have skilled workers who are doing carpentry job, and you want to supply doors, say for instance, to a site, and the doors would be absolutely impeccable. They will be perfect in all respects. But when they have to come and be say fixed on the site work too has to match the perfection level. Right? And what happens is, in India,
design level also gets completely off.
Because it's so labor intensive, you want to hire anybody and everybody, and then the perfection of work at site is not all that great. And so when you come and fix your perfect thing, there is a mismatch.
Especially plastering.
Yes, wall plastering, undulation. So these are market driven problems which have to be resolved.
But Meena,
So-
that's why any manufacturer who is doing an off-site manufacturing for you will take the measurements after your final finishing of your walls is done. That is why the responsibility
But this
of
still
the manufacturer
happens.
to give you the
No, that's what I'm
So,
saying. So
any
see,
handmade product will always have that little bit here and there where you have to figure that balance. But it's still better because anything that's being like even Vivek, he is doing cut to size, right? Culture ही नहीं है इंडिया में. Internationally, everybody does cut to size. I have a fit out company in Dubai where we do palace projects, right? Our team from the vendors there only buy cut to size. Indian clients are like नहीं हमारा तो यहीं काटेगा side पे काटेगा.
that's I'm telling you, because it's unskilled laborers who, they're cheaper. So labor is so cheaply available here. You can find today there'll be that guy will be sitting in the roadside with a paint box. Tomorrow he'll have a carpentry tool with him. So it's so bad with the unskilled laborers. That's something that we really need to address, so that we can move forward in this right direction of, say, out and getting prefab stuff in. It is the right way ahead. I would definitely agree.
Very strongly feel that our clients, right, they are very highly guided by the designers and the architects. Finally, it's a responsibility of our industry men to educate our clients that what is the right way to move ahead, right? If we educate our clients that on-site will be cheaper, let's do it on-site, then naturally the client inclination, because he listens to us, right?
On-site is not a good way.
The client
On-site is just not right. So that we agree.
I think we all, as architects or designers, guide our clients to the best possible result. But at the end, price is a barrier for a lot of,
Right.
so there's only so much we can influence.
Fine also. Even if you educate out of the 5 clients, you will tell them all this story. This is benefit, this is good for you, but you cannot force them.
But you see, I feel like today everybody is okay to not make kitchens at site, let's say. Everybody wants to order a factory-made kitchen, right? Similarly, like, let's say stone. We're just not used to ordering cut to size. Or let's say doors and wardrobes. A lot of people want to make it on site. So it's just about a mental framework to get aligned as to what we're okay with, what we're not okay with, I think.
I also think that if we can come up with different price points for different categories of people, they will move to prefab. Like in construction, we do have different categories on steel structures, components that go into a building. So in the same way, at the design level, if we can have a price point for all kinds of clients, I'm sure there will be, that threshold will be crossed.
For instance, kitchens can range anywhere from, say, 2 lakhs prefab kitchens, 2 lakhs to 20 lakhs. Okay. And similarly,
55 lakhs also.
Oh yeah, that too. Okay, I stopped lower. Similarly, wardrobes you have starting from 1,500 to 10,000. Okay. So, I mean, you have the entire gamut of things, and as you know, I think you're all right that is a major factor. At the end of the day, we don't want them to just pick on 4 things where they have actually 10 things to get done. So, as architects, we are responsible and to help the project together. So, I think that's that. So,
but factory made is actually cheaper because in my factory, I can minimize wastage. You can know your wastage in advance. Most people don't even know that when they bring stone to site, it could be 30-40% wasted, and nobody is checking that.
Yeah, 25%.
While in my factory, I can make it 10%.
Agreed.
15%.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But again, awareness. This is all about awareness. Making the
Like,
awareness.
like we can do kitchen tops ready to use, vanity tops ready to use, bathrooms, try and wherever things can be done, and we are fully geared to do everything ready, and it is actually cheaper than to do the handwork inside and all the hassle that there is inside, especially now.
Very true. Yeah, and that education starts at our level, right?
Okay, so we've actually, our 1 hour session is gone to 1.5 hours.
Ah, okay. Right.
It was very interesting.
To you, thank you,
Exciting.
Monica, all the team. We can talk till tomorrow.
I really enjoyed this. Very nice.
So
very nice.
whenever you all are traveling, I take this opportunity of inviting all of you, maybe to visit Alibag. I've told Kashish earlier.
Anytime.
Thank you.
अब तो आना पड़ेगा.
You have to come. You have to come. Because especially for those who are landlocked, there we have the sea. That sea itself is a very exciting thing.
Too tempting, Vivek. Don't say all this. We can't fly right now.
And it's only a 15-minute boat ride, a 12 to 15-minute
You're
speedboat.
blessed. You're blessed.
Thank you all very much. It was
Thank you.
fun, and we enjoyed having all of you here and seeing your amazing presentation, and fantastic talk from Meena, and great having you all, and hope to stay in touch. And this was, as Kanchan said, a super interesting session. This was one of our best sessions.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.